All right, so as you guys can see, we are here for Shedeur Sanders, and we see he's still third string going into week 2 of the Baltimore Ravens matchup.
Let him go play for somebody. Let him go win a Super Bowl for somebody else. Honestly.
You trade Shedeur Sanders. You clearly are not sold on him right now. You're not sold on the progress that he's making, even though you're saying, hey, we're happy with where he's at.
I'm going to be livid if it goes down, by the way.
So it looks like they're going to continually play 41-year-old Joe Flacco. Although he threw 2 interceptions this past weekend, it remains to be seen.
Shedeur Sanders, once again, finds himself sidelined. Third string on the unofficial roster for the Baltimore Ravens. The spotlight, once shining brightly on this young, talented quarterback, now seems to be flickering as he's relegated to the emergency quarterback list. The shock isn't just in where he stands, but in the choices being made ahead of him. Joe Flacco, yes, Joe Flacco, the veteran who's been on the decline, is being preferred over Sanders in crucial matchups like the one against the Ravens. But here's the kicker. There's no clear answer yet on whether Shedeur will even see the field in Week 3. His future remains uncertain, and the tension is building. If he's left out for the entire season, this could become one of the most controversial decisions of the year. How long can the league ignore his potential? How long before the backlash becomes impossible to ignore? The stakes are high, and the clock is ticking. Will Shedeur finally get the chance he deserves, or will this be the beginning of a season filled with frustration and missed opportunities? Stay tuned. This drama is just getting started.
Browns outgained the Bengals 327 to 141 and had the ball for nearly 36 minutes, but it wasn't enough. And this is why you need to find your quarterback. I don't know why y'all fooling with Joe Flacco.
And the backlash is growing louder by the day. Fans, analysts, and even former players are calling out the Browns' management for their decision to stick with a veteran like Flacco. The sentiment is clear. If the team is going to lose games anyway, why not give the rookies, Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel, a shot? At least with them, you're investing in the future. Even if they lose, they're gaining valuable experience that could pay off in the long run. Yet, despite all the noise, the Browns have shown no signs of making that shift. They seem content to keep Flacco in the mix, even though it's obvious he's past his prime. The question is, why? Are they really that afraid to take a chance on the future? Are they too invested in the idea of a veteran quarterback leading the charge, even if it's clear that approach isn't working? The frustration is palpable, and it's only going to get worse if the Browns continue to ignore the obvious solutions staring them in the face. Fans want change, the analysts want change, and Shedeur, he's just waiting for his shot. But not everyone is buying into the skepticism surrounding Shedeur's chances. There are voices, like Colin Cowherd, who still believe that Shedeur Sanders will get his moment. Cowherd has boldly predicted that while Sanders might not see the field in the first few weeks, by week 4 or 5, he'll be the one under center. According to Cowherd, the Browns will hit a point where they can't ignore the reality of their situation. If they're losing games, the pressure will mount, and the team will have no choice but to make a change. That's when Shedeur will step in, potentially turning the season around and giving the team the spark they desperately need. If he succeeds, even partially, fans will be clamoring for him to start every week, and his name will be on everyone's lips.
I tend to think by Thanksgiving, he'll just potentially be the best quarterback they have, and the fans will be clamoring for him because it's not a very good team and they'll be losing games.
Then there's Cam Newton, who's all in on Shedeur Sanders. In a recent statement, Newton argued that Shedeur has the boldness and the drive that could give the Browns a fighting chance, something that Joe Flacco, in his current state, just can't provide. Newton made it clear, if it comes down to winning ugly, he'd take that over a pretty loss any day. His point? Sometimes it's not about playing flawlessly, it's about getting the job done. And he believes Shedeur, with his fire and potential, could be the one to do that for the team.
You're not going to make me feel bad for winning. And I've heard this many times in the NFL. I would prefer an ugly win rather than a pretty loss. I'll say it again. I would prefer an ugly win.
But now, the voices from within Cleveland are growing louder and more urgent. There's a rising sentiment that if Shedeur Sanders isn't going to get a chance to play, it might be time for the Browns to let him go. The reality is hitting hard. Shedeur Sanders has significant market value right now. Multiple teams are reportedly showing interest in him, and journalists are beginning to question the logic of keeping a player who's not being utilized to meet the high expectations placed upon him. Fans, too, are getting restless. Many are calling for the Browns to release Sanders, believing that letting him go could be the best move for both the team and the player. They feel that in a different environment, with the right opportunity, Shedeur could truly flourish and reach his full potential. The clock is ticking, and with each passing day, the pressure on the Browns to make a decision only intensifies. Will they stick to their current plan, or will they risk losing a promising talent to another team that knows how to use him? Time is running out, and the Browns have a tough choice ahead of them. In an attempt to control the narrative around Shedeur Sanders, the Browns tried to downplay his importance. But instead of making him less of a focal point, their efforts have completely backfired. Rather than silencing the noise, they've only fueled it, drawing more attention to him and pushing him further into the spotlight. Cabot pointed out that the Browns made a major miscalculation by thinking they could manage Sanders' fame. With a player of his caliber, that's simply not something you can control. Sanders isn't just a player, he's a star with a massive following and a dedicated fan base. The more the Browns try to minimize his significance, the louder the criticism gets, and the more pressure mounts on the team. Their strategy to shift focus away from Sanders has only made things worse, turning what should have been a quiet situation into a full-blown controversy. Instead of putting the issue to rest, they've only amplified it, creating a much bigger problem for themselves in the process.
Well, I think that this is a football team that really tries to kind of block out some of that noise or tell themselves that they can handle it, that they can handle the storm that's going to come with.
Despite all the pressure mounting around Shedeur Sanders, Colin Cowherd reported that the Browns owners are pushing for him to play. They want to make him the future face of the franchise. However, management is still hesitant to hand him the starting role immediately. The coaching staff and front office are reportedly looking for ways to delay his start, possibly planning to ease him into the role gradually instead of throwing him in right from the beginning. But Cowherd believes that no matter how much they try to delay it, it's ultimately inevitable. The Browns' ownership is determined to make Shedeur their quarterback of the future, and they're hoping that his talent can turn Cleveland into a legitimate championship contender. It's clear that the team sees his potential, but the question is, how much longer will management hold back before finally giving him the reins? Colin Cowherd also pointed out an important factor that extends beyond just Shedeur Sanders' on-field performance. According to Cowherd, the Browns' ownership isn't just looking for a quarterback who can win games, they're looking for someone who can make headlines. Bringing Shedeur in as the starting quarterback would certainly accomplish that. Cowherd compared it to previous moves, like the ones with Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, where ownership pushed for them to be the face of the team, even when management had its doubts or concerns. It's becoming clear that Shedeur is now the new player in their sights. Ownership is all in on him, not only because of his talent, but also because they see his potential to bring more than just victories. They're hoping he'll also bring national attention to Cleveland, turning the team into a media powerhouse while aiming for the ultimate goal of a championship.
CeeDee Lamb and Dak, I mean, that lot of targets. And CeeDee Lamb, even when targeted the most, still complains about looks. I mean, is he going to be okay getting 40% of his targets cut?
The pressure on the Cleveland Browns to start Shedeur Sanders is mounting from all sides. Analysts, fans, and even former players like Cam Newton and Colin Cowherd have made it clear. Sanders has the potential to turn this team around. Ownership is on board, seeing not only his talent, but also the media and fan attention he could bring. Yet, despite all the external pressure, the Browns management remains hesitant. They seem reluctant to hand the reins over to a rookie quarterback, preferring instead to delay his start and possibly ease him into the role. This hesitation is causing frustration both inside and outside the organization. The more the Browns try to downplay Shedeur's importance, the more they risk fueling the controversy, drawing even more attention to the decision. It's clear that ownership wants Sanders as the quarterback of the future, hoping he can elevate the team to a championship contender. However, the reluctance from management to fully embrace him creates a disconnect that could become a significant issue if the team continues to struggle. The question now is whether the Browns will finally listen to the mounting pressure or continue to resist what seems like an inevitable shift towards Shedeur Sanders. What do you think, though? Should the Browns stick with their veteran quarterback, or is it time to hand the reins over to Shedeur Sanders? With so much pressure coming from analysts, fans, and even ownership, how long can the team afford to wait before making a change? Do you believe Sanders has what it takes to turn the team around? Or would he be better off starting fresh with another organization? And if the Browns continue to hesitate, could they risk losing Sanders' potential to another team? Let us know your thoughts. Do you think it's time for Shedeur to start, or should the Browns stick to their current plan?